I look out across the water, I smell the salt, I feel the breeze, but in my heart I hear the calling of my old home, Tennessee. We don't know where these rivers flow, or why the wind chooses when and where to blow. The sun is gonna rise each and every time, but I've still got Tennessee on my mind. From Reaper's Fork to Watertown, and maybe Johnson City or Memphis bound. No matter where I go, no matter what I see, I still hear the calling of Tennessee. And who we to know where these rivers flow, or why the wind chooses when and where to blow. The sun is gonna rise each and every time, and I've still got Tennessee on my mind. I miss the smoke on the Cumberland and the fireflies at midnight, and the color of the leaves in the fall.
They let on the horizon shining back at me, makes me think of my baby coming home to me. Down the riverside flowing, knowing she's still there. I can't see where she's going, but I hope it's near. Life ain't what it seems. There's still a part of me that's trying. Come lay on my chest. You can find a little rest from hiding. Don't let this go. Don't let it fall away. Don't worry, we'll take it slow. Just don't let go. Don't let go. Daydreams falling like raindrops on the sky. Making plans, all I ever have dreamt of, falling through my hands. Life ain't what it seems. There's still a part of me that's fighting. Come lay on my chest. You can find a little rest from hiding. Don't let this go. Don't let
years ago that never fade away.
understand what went wrong. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way to stand up
uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Good morning. Welcome to the show. How y'all? It's amazing. It is October 31 already. October 31. Can you believe it? Where does time go? You can get involved. There are a few lines open. There are a couple lines, at least. You can get involved. Jump in there at 888-7753-773. 888-77-JESSE. Jesse. Jesse. My biblical question for this week, and again, for the new listeners, the biblical question is put there in order to encourage you to start thinking for yourself. To know that you know that you know that you know, that you understand it. And not just because I or anyone else said it, but because you can see it for yourself. And that's what a good fellowship is about, is always pointing you back to yourself. Because look at the world now. Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. The world gone crazy. Because everybody is just taking everybody else's word without knowing it for themselves. And they run out and repeat it, but still they don't know it for themselves. They don't know if it's true. They don't know if it worked. They don't know anything. No one is smarter than you, except that you are refusing to take responsibility for your own life. So the biblical question is there to encourage you to do that. Well, I can't do that. There's no talking to you. My biblical question, are you a pitiful person? Are you a pitiful person? Pitiful. You just so pitiful? That is an amazing biblical question. We have every way that you can watch and support the show listed on JesseLeePeterson.com/show. JesseLeePeterson.com/show. And if you're busy this morning working out, laying up at the beach, crossing the border into our country, fighting in wars, arguing with your wife or your husband, or whatever you're doing, jogging, riding your bike, and you're not able to sit right now and watch the show live, you can listen to the show on your iPhone or iPad by calling the listen line at 641-793-1500. 641-793-1500. And you can podcast the show later as well. And don't forget to follow us on Jesse Lee Peterson on Instagram and JLP Talk on X. JLP Talk on X. All right? Like, follow, ring the bell, subscribe, and y'all know what to do. I don't know what that means.
The intro song.
What?
The intro video.
What?
That intro, the little intro.
Oh, okay.
I got it.
And so, y'all know what to do. I'm sorry, I was distracted there. It is Tuesday already. And for the new people who might not be aware, because I grew up with country and Western music, And during those days when America was amazing, down in Sweet Home, Alabama, the so-called Jim Crow laws existed and everything, but America was amazing. And country western music was the only thing we could get at one point. And I grew up, I know a whole bunch of other people grew up really appreciating country and western music. So, and I know a lot of you do because I hear from you. You really appreciate the country and western music. Now, I know the haters don't appreciate it because they hate white people. They hate white people. It is Country and Western Tuesday. Paul, tell me about the good old days when the line between right and wrong wasn't so hazy. And Grandpa, when lovers never ran away. Stay beside one another, gone with me. Whoa, whoa, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Amazing. Nice. Isn't that amazing that America, think about this. When I was growing up down in Sweet Home, Alabama, on a plantation that my parents grew up on, my grandparents and their parents and their parents. And during those times, years and days and months and time, America was an amazing place. It just was. And you would think growing up that it would only get better or stay amazing. And by the way, to have your donate and have your comments read out loud, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JLP Talk, buymeacoffee.com/JLP Talk, or rebuildingdemand.com, rebuildingdemand.com, bond on JLP Cash App. Bond on JLP Cash App, all right? But as I was saying, you would think that America could either stay amazing or only get better. You would think that each new generation would appreciate the world that they were born in, the country that they were born into, and in their talent, they would add to it to make it even better. Because when I was growing up, America was amazing. And I know that the haters of America, they have distorted everything for their own personal gain. And they are doing it to make you angry, keep you angry because you're already angry, to keep you angry so that they can gain power, perceived power and wealth from you. And so they have distorted the greatness of this country from whenever, ever in a day. And what I noticed too, I don't hear anyone else saying it, but because I see it for myself, I can't get away from it. The people who founded America and the Western world, the white people, you like white people? The people who founded, discovered, and created the greatest country on this side of heaven, and no one else is able to do it in any other parts of the world. I've noticed that the white people are the most hated people on earth right now. And the mission, they have brainwashed the people of color, black and brown, of even other races too. the Muslims, the Mexicans, any person that's non-white. They have galvanized, over the years, brainwashed these people to believe that white people are their enemies. And they are using these people to destroy this great country and the Western world. And they're doing it out of jealousy, envy, because the people of color are incapable of creating. They don't have the same drive. They don't have the same know-how to make their environment better. And so instead of learning from the whites, they are trying to destroy them in order to not feel bad about being wrong or being dumb. Isn't that amazing? And it's happening to the white world as well as the Jewish world, because in their mind, the Jew people are white too. Anything white, you're an occupier. We got to get rid of the occupier, they say. But in reality, the people who are doing the fighting, they have no idea what's going on. They've been brainwashed. And the people who are controlling them, they are really jealous of the whites. And if you doubt me, put a little space between you and what's happening in the world out there and pay attention. And look at the people who are trying to destroy the Western world. They're coming from S-hole countries. And even the people of color who were born in America, look at their environment, S-hole environments. Their neighborhoods is infested with crime and drugs and gang, abortion, everything that's evil. Even in the Western world, let's say they live in the hood. They live in South Central L.A. or Chicago or Gary, Indiana, places like that. The people of color ain't doing better. They're making everything worse. And rather than learning from the white people, how y'all do it, show us how to do it, they'd rather destroy them. And then destroy the good things that they have created, because they can't keep it going. Look at the flight air traffic control people, right? They, a couple of years ago now, give or take, they took out the knowledgeable air traffic control people, the white people who work hard and learn how to do the job, and they replaced them with the blacks, affirmative action people. Now hardly a day goes by where you don't hear some near-miss accident. Near-miss accident. Isn't that amazing? It's not like these people qualified. It reminds me of those white people who are blaming the Jews. They said the Jew own everything. The Jew own the media. I'm mad. The Jew own this, the Jew own that, and the Jews try to destroy America. Rather than being mad at the Jews, why don't you learn how they did it, and then you do it and build too. It's a big old world. But they rather get angry and put out the light rather than learn from the light. And that's the same way the blacks do with the whites. That's the same way the Palestinians do with the Jews and do to each other. It's the same thing. It's amazing. And so if you really, really, really pay attention, you're going to see that the people of color are jealous of the whites. And they have been made to be that way from the government and other people who are in these so-called universities and things like that, who are brainwashing them to be jealous of the whites and the Jews. And they're like, kill the occupier. I'm like, what the? And the same thing happened in South Africa and other parts of Africa. White people made South Africa and other parts amazing. And the blacks got mad and they started calling it apartheid. And they started protesting and talking about racism and this and that. And for a while, the whites tried to fight back. But after a while, the world turned against them. And so they gave up. And they told the black people, okay, black people of color, y'all can have all this beautiful stuff we built. And we're just going to go back to the plantations, out to the farmland. And it's just going to be all white. We're not going to bring any blacks. So y'all don't accuse us of being slave owners. And what does the blacks do? What do? They destroy what the white man built. And now they're going out to the farmlands and destroying that. It's the same thing that's happening with the Jews and with the whites. You better be trying to pay attention. It's not just about war. It's about jealousy and envy. And the people of color have been brainwashed to believe that the non-people of color are against them. And I have more proof of that. Well, I can't do that. You need to watch what's going on. I remember, and I mentioned this story over and over again. I went to Israel to visit. Never imagined that one day I would go to Israel, right? It was amazing. And so we were looking around Israel, and we get to the city of David and other areas where the Jews gave the land over to the Palestinians. And when the Jews gave it to them, it was beautiful, beautiful homes, beautiful neighborhood. You know how the Jews are. If you doubt me, go into any Jewish community in this country, and you'll see the Jews walking around, family, wearing their little hats and things. And the area is beautiful. They're educated. And everything around them is ghetto. And instead of the Palestinians learning from the Jews in Israel, they sit over there looking across the road, mad at the Jews. I'm like, what now? That reminds me of the blacks in America. Anger is evil. Anger blinds you. And white people, this is not about what you've been told. This attack upon you is about jealousy and envy. It's about shutting you down and creating an S-hole country because they don't know how to do it. Look at our military right now. They put a black man and some other blacks in charge of our military. It is weaker than sugar water. Our military is totally weak now. And that black man that is running it, he has no clue. Next time you see him on TV talking, look at him. You see he has no clue. The only thing in his mind is ghetto and destroying. We don't have a strong military anymore because they have joined teams against the whites. Think about it. They are giving money to all the other countries instead of at home. And look who's running the government. They're not doing anything for America at all, not one iota. And that includes the Republicans and the Democrats. We have a one-party system now. You're a fool if you think the Republicans are on your side. They're not. They're there for perceived power and wealth too. They love wars because the money. Show me the money. They don't care. The Great White Hope, Donald Trump, was the only president that I'm aware of, and maybe some other president did it, but there was no war. There was peace in the Middle East under the Great White Hope. They don't want that. There ain't no money in peace. What the? In their minds. At the great late Booker T. Washington once said. This is from wonderfulquote.com. Booker T. Washington said, I will permit no man to degrade my soul by making me hate him. That's deep. I will permit no man to degrade my soul by making me hate him. That is so deep. And that's what they've done and are doing to societies around the world today. They're making you hate your fellow man and in return degrading your soul. And you're such a blind fool that you don't see what's happening. And just think about it. They tell you that you should be offended. And you never question, well, who am I to be offended? If I can be offended, then I have a problem. I'm my own world. If someone can defend me, it is my problem, not yours. And they're pushing this. It's crazy, folks. Did you ever think that one day you will have foreign students coming to our country to say they want an education, and they are here on a permit, and a war break out in another part of the world, and they join forces with the enemies in our country by the numbers, and they don't have to worry about being arrested or shipped back to their country, visa taken away or anything. Did you ever imagine that that would happen in America? And that they will attack Americans on American soil. That's what they're doing right now. And if you speak up about it, especially if you're white or Jewish, they're coming after you on your own land. And they're changing, white people, they're changing your culture in your own country. Rather than taking it on and enjoying it the way we used to do in America, we were one. At one time, we were one. One nation under God. That's gone. This is from Business Insider. Certain Halloween costume can actually be problematic and could be seen as cultural appropriation. Whoever came up with that term should be shipped out of our country right now. And that's what I'm going to do when I become president. All these people coming up with these different terms, cultural appropriation and all that mess, you're going to be shipped out of the country. I don't care if you're a citizen or not. You're out of here. You won't divide the country. But anyway, it can be problematic and could be seen as cultural appropriation, made up words with no meaning, right? Some costumes take it too far and can become racist, misogynist, and downright insensitive. Who coming up with this mess? Remember when you were growing up and Halloween came and you dressed whatever way you wanted to? Indian, white people, Mexican, whatever the way you wanted to. And the people had fun. They appreciated it. It wasn't nothing about no cultural appropriation, misogynist, racist, downright insensitive. These people are evil. Whomever teaching you this are evil. And they're causing you to make your soul hateful, which is more evil. Because anyone that has anger, your soul is hateful, and you're of your father, the devil. You're an evil person. That's why they can get you to carry out evil against your fellow man. Now, right? And how did a costume become that way? I know it's only for white people. If people of color wore a different costume, no, oh, that's so cute. No problem. You look like an Indian. According to Business Insider, here are some of the offensive costumes you should stay away from. Watch this photo.
So we got a couple of offensive costumes you shouldn't be wearing. Here's the first one. Avoid any costume that makes a caricature out of another culture, like this sexy shooter happy hour costume.
Amazing.
Definitely don't do that.
Especially if you're white. This is for white people only. Believe me. If some person of color wore this, it would be no big deal.
See, she's a shooter, but,
Yeah.
but she doesn't have a gun. She's giving people shots.
Oh, of alcohol, huh? What?
Think twice about anything that could have questionable implications. This Rasta costume kit might be cause for concern.
I remember in the 60s, 70s, and maybe early 80s, but back in the 60s, white people wore those kind of clothes, and the black people loved it because the blacks thought that they saw the white people were on their side, and when they would see white people in those type of dashikis and things like that, they was like loving it.
They're cool.
Yeah.
Dashiki.
Whatever.
I think I'll be Dr. Umar for this Halloween.
Oh, amazing.
Put on a dashiki.
Whomever that is.
He's black. This men's Arab chic costume draws on false stereotypes of Middle Eastern culture.
And it's just a costume. And I want to remind you, white people, this is for you only. This is against you. They're not talking to people of color. They hate you. They're jealous of you. They hate you.
You know what I
In
like?
your own country.
You know what I like about these series of images?
What?
It's like the person who made them it's like, how can I be offensive but helpful at the same time? Oh, I'll put the stereotypes out there, but I'll say, don't do this. You might as well have a picture of, like, I don't know, like someone committing a crime. It's like, don't be a black person for Halloween. Don't you do it.
Amazing.
And the last one here is dressing up in this gorilla costume would be innocuous, but calling this a Harambe costume would be insulting.
Oh, they don't want you to look like a gorilla?
Well, what
An animal?
specifically a particular animal that the internet felt really bad for when they saw die. There was this gorilla named Harambe a couple years ago that died in a zoo, and everybody felt bad for it. You remember that?
They were emotional because the animal died in the zoo?
Yeah, so this kid fell into the enclosure, and this gorilla, just a huge gorilla, runs up to it, and it was a tense moment. I guess the zookeepers didn't know what to do. I mean, shoot it or not, they chose to shoot it.
And now they overreacted to that?
Yeah, they were like, why did you kill Harambe? That was a huge thing.
Are
It
you
felt worse for the
serious?
gorilla than Imagine if the gorilla killed the kid. I wonder what the story would have been.
Or do they feel that way when the women kill the men, children in the womb?
No. Only gorillas and dogs and puppies. Babies. Pfft.
What the? What a mess. See how they change in America? They are created the kind of environment that they have come from. They have created, they hate the decent environment that white people create. And so rather than learning, they're destroying the white because they love their hell. They love the hell inside of themselves and they love it outside in their outer environment. And America will become a ghetto. If white people did what they did in South Africa, left and went to the farmland, America would be a ghetto in a week. Because the people of color don't build. That's why everybody try to come to America. 888-7753-773. Back in a moment. You can't run from evil within yourself or outside of self. You got to deal with it. And you need good in order to deal with evil. And God is good. You need to return to the Father. And you'll see within you, he will fight the battle for you. And he will fight it without, because he will show you how to deal with it. And you will have no fear. Love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your might, along with nothing else. Nothing else means yourself, your children, your wife, your things, your ego, your reputation, and all that. You can't care about any of that. The children of anger will use it to control you. But if you love God, he will renew your mind and none of those things will be before him. And so when they go after you, oh, well, you may take my body, you may take my things, but you're not going to take my soul. And that's a true reality. Okay, welcome back. There is a line open, one line now at 888-77-53-773, 888-77-JESSE. At 9 a.m. this morning, the Hake, H-A-K-E report is coming up. From 9 to 11 a.m., the Hake report.com. And at 12 noon, the American Anchor Baby. The American Anchor Baby is coming up at 12 noon. Oh, it's Tuesday, huh? At 11 a.m., I forgot. What the? You be like, at 11 a.m., Joel Friday TV. Every Tuesday, you be like, Joel Friday TV every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Then 12 noon, the American Anchor Baby. The American Anchor Baby. I just want to show you a couple more examples of the attack on white people. And white people being Jewish people too. Because the people of color, due to their jealousy, envy, they are jealous of white people. Because in the countries where white people rule, they are amazing countries. And people around the world are trying to get into those countries. But the unfortunate thing is when they get into those countries, they destroy them because they bring their asshole culture with them. That's their mentality. They don't make them better. And then the blacks in our country, look around you. I'm not making up anything. Wherever the blacks are in control, it's just nothing but darkness, hell, crime, and welfare dependency, and the lack of, and women ruling, and just anger and control. It's just a mess. And they won't say, you know, what's wrong with us? What's wrong with me that I can't do it? And why am I jealous of the white man? And instead of learning from them, I'm trying to destroy them. But that's what family members do to one another. That's what the blacks do to the black Democrat, those who lead the plantation of the Democratic Party. And the ones that are staying behind, they try to hurt those that leave. That's what your mama do to you when she turn you away from your father. She'll destroy you to get back at the father. There's no love. She'll take you to court and turn you against your father and make the father pay and feel good about it, driving you nuts as the kids and draining the father, all for ego gratification. It's the same thing everywhere. You must be born again of love. And this whole idea about cultural appropriation, whomever making this up, they are evil, and you're listening to them. You're listening to them. It's like you listen to a preacher that tells you that Jesus is God or that you have a free will, and you get nowhere. You don't get beyond that idea, that thought, and you go around repeating it, and inwardly you're miserable. It's not working for you to believe it. And that's what's happened with the people of color. And unfortunately, the white people are afraid. They have put their things before what is right. And so they don't fight back in the right way. They'll join their enemy to destroy their own country rather than standing up to their enemies within. According to the Center for Prevention out in Minnesota, you ask, what is cultural appropriation? Watch this from the Center for Prevention, Minnesota.
What is
Watch
cultural
it.
appropriation? Cultural appropriation is when someone intentionally or unintentionally takes and exploits part of a culture they don't belong to. It can mean using ideas or customs or clothing inappropriately and without permission. In the United States, it typically occurs across race, where the dominant white culture inappropriately and offensively uses the cultures of black people, indigenous people, or people of color. Cultural appropriation does not respect or honor the culture. Cultural appropriation harms the culture and the people who claim it as their way of life.
That sounds like a Chinese or something saying
Yeah.
that. What the? How you be an American and talk about cultural appropriation?
You know who I really like that culturally appropriates?
Who?
The Japanese. I hear that they have Mexican restaurants, Caribbean. They have all sorts of cultural restaurants, but it's Japanese restaurant owners. They don't bring them in. They just take their food.
This attack is all upon the whites. I'm telling you. They're jealous of white people. This only applies to the whites. White people, you are under attack. It ain't about the land. It ain't about whatever occupation. It's about jealousy. They don't have it in them to do it. I wonder why God made white people smarter than the people of color. The Jews are smarter than the people of color over there, and the whites are smarter than the people of color over here. Why did that happen? How did that happen? What?
Christianity.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's deep. And now they hate Halloween. I'm telling you, white people, this is against you. That's a dumb idea about cultural appropriation. That's made up by the children of evil. Why don't they take on American culture? Why are they appropriation against America? And they're not offering anything better. And the people of color are getting dumber and dumber and dumber. I wonder where will white people go once they have to leave here and leave South Africa, because the people of color ain't going to stop. Evil doesn't stop until you overcome evil. Inside of you and outside of you, inside of others. You must overcome evil, or it will destroy you. Now there's no Halloween in America. That's white. Remember when Halloween used to be so much fun? You put on your costume, and Halloween night you go door to door and get candy and stuff. You didn't think about somebody putting needles and poisons and things, drugs in the candy. You let all these people to our country, and this is what they do, because they have done the same thing in their country. You let the blacks run things in this country, and they're just destroying it. They're not making it better. Look at Chicago. It's been under control of blacks for a while. Has it gotten better? Look at Gary, Indiana. Look at South Central LA. Look at Detroit. Look at DC. And you still put them there. No more Halloween in America. This is from Fox. A New Jersey school canceled Halloween celebration, cited its diversity. Isn't that crazy? How come it wasn't like this in the good old days? There was no diversity in the good old days. Everybody just had fun. You wore whatever you wanted to wear. You went to whatever door you wanted to go to. So now they're saying a New Jersey school district canceled Halloween celebration, citing its diversity, equity, and inclusion. Inclusion values and potential for the festival to be offensive to people from various backgrounds. Watch this from CBS.
There will be no Halloween celebrations during school hours at one New Jersey school district. The superintendent for the South Orange Maplewood School District says he's ending celebrations to build equity and foster inclusion.
The superintendent says he's making the recommendations so students with financial limitations or those who don't celebrate Halloween because of cultural or religious reasons don't feel isolated.
I think it makes total sense. There's people that can't afford costumes. There's people that don't celebrate Halloween. Again, it's just there are so many other things to worry about. I'm not worried about this issue.
It being banned at our school kind of takes away something that a lot of kids at our school participated in.
Democratic Governor Phil Murphy even weighing in on the platform X, saying, quote, seriously, we can't let kids celebrate Halloween? Give me a break. The superintendent says he believes the new recommendations will foster inclusion and build equity and a sense of belonging throughout the district.
Amazing. It's a superintendent black.
I don't know.
The superintendent is black. I knew it. They hate white people. They hate America. These type of people need to be put out of a country. Take their citizen card away from them. No more member of America. And send them to a country where they feel appropriated. Whatever that means. Let me go to Corey, a first-time caller out of Ohio. Let's see. Corey, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Good morning, Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson.
Good morning, Corey.
Good morning to you and to the elite crew. You guys have been just so amazing to me since I ever, started listening to you and during the summertime, I would say, and it's just been amazing.
Nice.
It's been amazing. And so first, I'd like to answer your biblical question.
Are you a pitiful person?
I feel pitiful when I feel like I'm not reaching my full potential in life.
What's your full potential?
Great question. I think it's more laughter and making more money.
Well, why do you think that?
Because I feel like with my personality in life, I feel like I should be doing more things in life. But I feel like I'm not reaching my full potential in life.
So why do you think laughter and making more money is a potential?
Because I want to own a couple of houses, so I need the money to do that.
But why do you think that is a potential though? That's just something you do to get another house. It's just money and a house.
Okay.
How would you define potential?
Like being the best you could be.
Having a house would make you the best you could be?
That's a good question. Not necessarily then.
Then why do you call that a potential?
I guess I had it all wrong.
No. Why did you call that a potential, having a house?
I guess because now I'm living in an apartment.
But why do you call having a house a best potential?
I don't even know why. That's a good question. Yeah, I don't even know why. guess I just want a little bit more materials than what I got now.
If you had all the material in the world, how would that make you a better potential person?
Well, definitely, being, closer to the Father with all those materials, I would probably like know how to like live my life with all those materials.
So then the people that have those things, how come they don't know how to live their lives?
That's my question to you as well. I don't know. That's a great question.
And since it's not working for them, what makes you think it's going to work for you?
I guess you can't knock it till you try it.
But it ain't working for no one that has it. All it's done to make them want more.
Yeah, greed. Yeah, greedy. Yeah. People do be greedy. Yep.
It's interesting, though, and I can't respond to the biblical question until Sunday, but it's interesting that you think those things and you say those things and you try to get those things and you think it's going to reach your greatest potential, but you don't know why you think that way. And most people don't know why they think that way either.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that amazing?
Yep. It is amazing. Yep.
Are you doing the silent prayer?
No, sir.
Have you gone and forgiven your mother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You went and forgave her?
Yeah, I lost her at 9 years old.
Oh, so you haven't gone and but you have forgiven her.
Absolutely. Like I was more like the anger was more like mad that she passed away so early in my life. That was more like the anger that I had.
And have you overcome that anger?
I think I did. I feel better now. But I've been through some depression, I feel.
You've been through some depression?
Yeah, I feel like, just feeling like some kind of demon like weighing down on me, like, just feeling down in the dumps and stuff.
You still feel that way?
Yeah, I do.
Have you forgiven your father?
Yeah, I love my dad. I love him to death. He had become when losing my mom, he was like pretty much my dad and my mom at the same time. He was cooking for me and spoiling me, and then reading the Bible at the edge of my bed. Like he was like he's my heart.
How old are you now?
I'm 37. I'm 36.
And so, what are you angry about now?
I guess I'm angry that I don't have a family yet.
Why are you angry that you don't have a family?
Because I feel like I'm getting older.
And do you think a family would make you happy?
That's a great question. I would feel like, if I'm lost and I'm like, I'm not doing good. Like even if I had a family, that wouldn't be good. But absolutely, if I keep my faith in God, I think I would be happier.
You think a family would make you happy?
Yeah, a loving family.
There's no such thing as a loving family. And do you know anyone who has a family and they're happy?
Yeah, I got a friend of mine. Yeah, he got married and got a child. So, yeah, he's doing pretty good.
He's not happy though.
Well, when you check out those like short clips on Facebook, they look like they're happy.
They're putting on a show.
Yep.
But they're not happy. They don't have peace. That's why they're putting the show on Facebook. They're trying to find happiness.
Gotcha.
And so why do you think having a family, going to give you happiness or peace? Where do you get that idea from?
I guess from my parents, because they were married and had me and my sister.
But they weren't happy.
That is the question. I don't have no idea.
And the proof that they weren't happy is that you and your sister are not happy. Your father and mother passed on to you what they had inside of them. And they didn't pass happiness onto you.
And I got to get out of this.
So what?
And I got what it pass on to me. I have to overcome it.
Yes. Otherwise, you're never going to find peace. And what you're looking for is never going to give you peace. It's the devil telling you, oh, if you had a family, you would be happy. If you had a house, you would be happy. If you had money. And he's lying to you and you're believing it. And when you look around, the people who have those things, they're miserable.
Mm. You have a point.
There's this guy that he was an actor on one of those little sitcom shows, and Matthew Perry. And according to the reports, he had it all materially, but he was depressed. He was miserable. He was on drugs and alcohol. His father and mother broke up. He felt unloved. And he had a miserable life, but he had a big house. He had money. He had fame. And none of those things gave him peace.
Right.
And yet you believe that that's what would bring you peace.
And that's not real peace.
It's not going to be peace at all. It's just more hell.
Mm. Yeah. and my second question to you,
isn't that
Mr.
amazing?
Peters, oh yeah, everything you say is amazing. Actually,
why don't you do this silent prayer so you can find your way back home to the Father?
And next time I talk to you, it will be after I get into the every morning, every night silent prayer, so I could talk to you about that. But to answer your question, why not? I got no answer. There's no excuse.
You love your hell?
I guess I really don't love it, but
if you don't love it, but what?
I'm just being lazy and just like lagging in it.
Are you black?
Yes, sir. I'm black.
You black. So you're too lazy to even work on coming out of the hell you live in.
Yeah, I need some like spiritual motivation.
Are you able to hold on?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me take a break. 888-7753-773. 888-77-JESSE. A quick break. Hake is coming in with the hate news, not the fake news, but the hate news, and I'll be back in a moment. Now, I totally disagree with the way things are going, but you can't be angry because that's what the enemy wants. He wants to control you. They do things to make you mad so they can control you. It's like being married, and the wife would do things to make you mad, or she'll do things to make you feel good. And men do that to women too when they want something from the woman, especially sex. They'll make her feel good, or they'll make her angry. And the woman's gonna have to say, you don't want to be angry. You want to speak up. You want to disagree with what's going on. It's wrong, but do not be angry. Then you won't have fear. You won't have doubt. You won't have worries. You'll be able to see, but you got to stay away from anger. That's why you must forgive your mothers and your fathers so that you can overcome the spirit of anger. It's a spirit and it's wicked. Nothing good in anger because it has no love, folks. You need love to defeat evil. And love is not a weakness. It's a strength. It's from God. It's His nature.
Victim feeling people everywhere. It's a mess. This is the end of hour one of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. It's Country and Western Tuesday, October 31st, 2023 AD. Happy Halloween, I guess, if that's not too unchristian for you guys. It's supposedly Christian. We took it over from the pagans, right? Stay tuned for hour two. JLP will be right back to your calls. There is one line open. You can call in right now to get on hold, to get on air with JLP. 888-77-JESSE, 1-888-775-3773. But first, Hake News, not fake news. Actually, you can call during Hake News. Jewish and Arab communities say the far-left females of the Skim are experiencing dangerous ripple effects from the latest Israel-Hamas war. Campuses. Yesterday, the Biden administration unveiled efforts to combat anti-Semitism, so-called, and Islamophobia at college campuses from each other. For the first time, Title VI of the so-called Civil Rights Act will make it clear that anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are prohibited. Shooting threats against Jewish students at Cornell, incidents at Harvard, Cooper Union, UPenn, Pennsylvania, and other universities, competing protests, statements from student groups and professors, torn posters of kidnapped Israeli civilians, one truck or maybe multiple trucks, not sure, exposing the names and faces of pro-Palestinian students on campus who signed a big letter at Harvard University about something dumb, I forget. And they're running their big mouths, even in the workplaces. Employees fired or forced to resign or lost job offers after opening their big mouths about the war. Boycotts and company statements of employees feeling ostracized and fearful. Jewish and Muslim victim activist groups have seen a spike in people contacting them for quote-unquote help or guidance. Some quote-unquote workers are protesting companies for taking the wrong side, whichever side is wrong. Around the world, violence, harassment and threats skyrocketing. In Chicago, you'll recall that 6-year-old boy, Palestinian-American boy, Wadia Al-Fayoumeh, was stabbed to death by that 71-year-old landlord who looks like he probably did it. Sorry. In Russia, I mentioned yesterday a mob descended on an airport carrying a plane from Israel searching for Jewish passengers. Wonder who that mob was made up of. Probably not white Russians, my guess. I'm not sure. Protests with hateful and violent rhetoric around the world. One Muslim teen in NYC had her hijab ripped off in the subway and she was called a terrorist. I'm laughing with her, not at her. In Australia, protesters were heard chanting, "Gas the Jews," which I disavow. Empathy, that liberal word, for children and civilians, but also hate. What a mess. There's a hostage situation. Israel wants to destroy Hamas's military capabilities and free the estimated 240 hostages from the October 7th attack from Hamas. Yesterday, Israel freed, allegedly, a hostage, a female soldier, Ori Megidish. Hamas has released 4 hostages, the 2 Israeli old ladies and the Israel-U.S. dual citizen mother and daughter. Hamas released a video of 3 other hostages, and Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Benjamin Netanyahu dismissed the video as cruel psychological propaganda. Israel confirmed the death of that cute Ms. Shani Luke, L-O-U-K, 23-year-old German-Israeli gal from that music festival. Her body supposedly paraded in Gaza. Israel reportedly engaged in negotiations with Hamas over the release of remaining hostages. They've demanded fuel, a ceasefire, Hamas has, and Palestinian prisoners for release. But Prime Minister Bibi's in Israel has rejected any ceasefire, maybe attempting to free them militarily. Israel once exchanged 1,000 Palestinian prisoners to free one Israeli captive soldier years back or something. The latest hostage situation is unprecedented for Israel. A leading consideration. Remember, in the 70s, there was a failed hostage rescue attempt of the Israeli hostages in the 1972 Munich Olympics. 11 Israeli team members total killed in the massacre, along with a West German police officer and 5 out of 8 Palestinian militants. I'm James Hake. Now back to JLP, Hour 2.
About themselves to understand what went wrong. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way.
Oh, that was Sean's video.
Oh, Sean put that together?
Yeah.
That was done by the talent all around. Sean, you white. That's nice. See why we need the Great White Hope back? He will make America great again.
Basically, all I've done is keep my promise.
And I rest my case. I kept my promise. I kept my word. Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. Good morning. Welcome to the second hour of the show today. That video that Hassan just played, put together by Sean, my producer, was amazing. It totally reminded me when I was growing up, when it was just America. You know what I mean? And each individual took care of themselves and helped others in the right time of need and in the right way. And that video, I'm told, was from Trump, the Great White Hope House Archive YouTube channel. Trump bring America back. It just feels like America. Anyway, you can get involved by calling 888-7753. 773 888-77-JESSE. Jesse. Jesse. My biblical question for this week. Are you a pitiful person? Are you a pitiful person? That's my biblical question. We have every way for you to watch and support the show listed on JesseLeePeterson.com/show. JesseLeePeterson.com/show. And if you're out and about and you're too busy to sit and watch the show live, you're going to podcast later, you can be listening on your iPhone or iPad, whatever you're doing, taking fentanyl or thinking of contemplating suicide or whatever you might be doing. Cultural appropriating or jealous of the white man and the Jewish man, whatever. You can be listening to the show by calling the listen line on your iPhone or iPad at 641-793-1500. 641-793-1500. And don't forget to follow us on Rumble. You got to know how to rumble.com/Jesse Lee Peterson and cozy.tv/JLP. Like, follow, ring the bell, subscribe, telephone, telegraph, tell your mama. Amazing. And to get your donate to have your comments read out loud, go to buymeacoffee.com/JLP Talk. Buymeacoffee.com/JLP Talk, or rebuildingtheman.com or Bond JLP Cash App. Bond JLP Cash App. So it's Tuesday. It's the second hour of Tuesday radio show. And every Tuesday is Country and Western Tuesday. Yeehaw!
Once each year, as October breezes bluster, there comes a most particular and most peculiar night. An anxious sort of night, when the dark grows a little more so. A jittery sort of night, when nothing is quite as it was. A night called Halloween.
What the? Who let the dogs out? Amazing. 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 That is nice. Amazing. You put that together? Her son did that one. And did you ever dress up for Halloween? Yes, I did. I dressed as a whatever in that for them, but absolutely. And it was fun. We were cultural appropriating all over the place. I remember one time I dressed up as an Indian. My father married us in Cherokee. My mother people were ashamed of me. The Indian said that I was white by law. The white man always called me Indian squaw. Half-breed, that's all I ever heard. Isn't that amazing? There was a time in America where you could just be an American and everybody had fun together. But those times are gone. I want to go back to Corey, a first-time caller out of Ohio. And Corey is responding to the biblical question, and are you a pitiful person? And you want to overcome all anger and be his best. And then I want to show you something that is happening to the blacks, and nobody cares. And even the blacks are loving it. And it's sad. And this is why they hate the whites and the Jews. Because they know that the whites and the Jews are smarter than them. And rather than understanding how you get so smart, they want to knock it down. It's sad. In that, the blacks don't even love themselves enough to take back their own life as individuals. Not as a group, but as an individual. But let me go quickly back to Corey, a first-time caller. Corey, you said your mother expired when you were little?
Yes, when I was 9, correct.
And you were angry at her about that?
No, sir. I was angry at cancer, what she died from. I was definitely angry about the disease of cancer.
How do you know you were mad about cancer? Because
it took my loving mother away. That's all I knew.
Really?
You know,
and you were like, you were aware that you were mad at the disease because it took your mother away from you?
Yeah, because she gave me like a few days before she passed, she was just like, before I leave, I want you to cure cancer. Like, she wanted me to be a scientist, and like I feel like a failure because I didn't pursue that route.
And
so like,
no, so like what?
Yeah, so with a guiltiness feeling and just like going about, doing things my way and just living life how I did it, I just feel, I feel down. Like I feel like I didn't like achieve nothing great.
And why did she want you to be a scientist?
I don't know why. That's a great question. I do not know. But I knew like she was just saying like, she wanted me to, graduate from college.
Why?
I know how you. My parents were foreign, so they came from Barbados. You know where Rihanna from?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So they came from another country, and you know a lot of foreign people. They come to they come to America, and and I'm sure you know the reason why.
Yeah.
And like, yep, and so they came here as hardworking factory workers in the Jeep plant.
And so as a result of that, your mother telling you those things, you feel guilty and like a failure?
Yeah, because I feel like, I could have done, I just became a trucker, and that was about it. So
Keep
far,
on
so
trucking, baby. Do you think your mother was right for telling you what she wanted you to be? She should have done those things for herself. Do you think she was right for putting that on you?
Wow, I never thought about that way, Jesse. I never did. I guess that was some serious pressure to put on a child once you kind of think about it.
It was. Your mother was wrong for doing that to you. That was pure evil.
And it wasn't her fault. like you said.
If she had wanted to be a scientist, she should have been one, not put it on you. You may want to just drive a truck, and that is equal to or better than being a scientist.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you. Because I was trying to make America great again. I was trying.
You have to forgive your mother for doing that. That's what mothers do to their children. They are failures. Okay. Mothers are losers. And so they try to live through their children so they can feel better about being a loser. Your mother was wrong for doing that to you. That was pure evil.
Wow. I never looked at it like that. Wow.
That's why you feel like a failure, because you resent her for doing that to you. She should have never done that to you. Just let you live your life.
And just tell me to be the best I could be.
Live life.
Yeah.
But mothers do that to their children. They destroy those children. They don't care because they walk around, oh, this is my child. He's a doctor. She's a lawyer. And the child is miserable, but the mother getting all the glory because she's miserable.
My goodness. Wow.
So forgive your mother for that. That was wrong. That was evil, so you could be free. And there's nothing wrong with being a trucker. There's nothing wrong with being a cotton picker. There's nothing wrong with being a trash person. There's nothing wrong with being a doctor or a lawyer. It's just a job. It's not who you are anyway.
Correct. And thank you. And what, like, you know, like, as far as like black people now, what is it? Are we going to live through are we going to be part of this lifetime when black people, when everything starts, you know, to click, when we stop backstabbing one another, like, you know, over here in Ohio, you know, I witnessed, you know, friends killing their friends, when will be the day it would all change?
When they stop hating their mothers and fathers for setting them up to be angry. Black people are probably the most angry, even though all generation of people have anger, but black people are the most angry people on this earth. And they are angry because the woman is being worshipped and she is destroying the children. The spirit of the woman, which is evil, is destroying the children. And instead of correcting the woman for doing that, they tell her she's a queen, she's this and she's that. And that anger is destroying generations and generations of blacks. Their hearts are wicked. That's why they're suffering.
Yeah, because I just... And then
all over
now
the world,
you know,
it's not... Because in Africa, black people, according to their history, they used to worship God. And then somehow or another, they fell off the horse. And they started worshiping animals and women and trees and snakes and voodoo. They turned away from God. And it's been that way ever since. They have not turned back to the Father. And they're suffering because their hearts are wicked and they are blind and they love evil over good.
And that's why the Bible, like, it was like God smacked me with his righteous hand, because like people were doing the same thing back in the day. Like, I believe it's Sodom and Gomorrah all over again.
Yes, 100%. And the blacks are not going to get better until white people stop catering to them, until white people tell them the truth, that they need to return to God and they need to let their anger go and stop giving them stuff to try to make them feel better, because they're not getting better. Each generation of blacks is are getting worse, and they're not getting better because you got to change the heart. Physical things is not going to do that. But the blacks are angry, and they love. That's why they love their health. That's why they kill one another. It's no problem for them to kill, raping white people, rob, snatch and grab, and they're proud of it. And then they say, "Oh, it's slavery," but their hearts are wicked. That's why they can't be trusted.
Yeah, like for instance, like these rappers, like I know it's not a, you know, you might not think it's a good thing to listen to like these rappers' music and all that, but like some of these rappers I like, you know, my heart is good, Jesse. My heart is good, and it was just so like, it was just a bad devil thrill to like see them come up, like for instance, this he's Caribbean like me, like from out of New York. His name is Pop Smoke, and he blew up. He had a nice music and nice voice and everything, and then he just like go to California and like put his stuff in social media, and the robbers came and killed him. Like it just made me want to vomit, Jesse.
Well, I don't know that person, but I do know for sure.
Right.
All black people's hearts are filled with hatred. And there are few starting to pull out of that, and they're pulling out of the black crowd thing, the mentality, and they're examining themselves, and they're overcoming evil by forgiving their mothers, returning to their fathers. Men and black women, black men and black women are overcoming it. But most are never going to overcome. They just have to die out. And a new generation of the blacks who are waking up are starting to overcome. Corey, let me tell you this. Do the silent prayer every morning, every night, and let me know how it goes.
Yes, sir.
And forgive your mother for putting that on you. That was evil. She was not supposed to do that.
Okay.
That was what she wanted, not what you wanted. And I guarantee you, had she not done that, your life would be amazing right now. You wouldn't have all this guilt. You wouldn't feel like a loser. You would be a free man. So forgive her for that. That was evil.
Okay. Got you, Jesse. Thank you.
All right. Do the prayer. Let me know how it goes.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.
You too, buddy. I want to know, before I go back to the calls here, I want to know how come and how could any human being think that this is good? And how come the blacks love it? This is an example of no standards in the schools anymore. They're literally lowering the standards that made America great to make the blacks feel better about being dumb and incapable. And don't have, it's like they did with the air traffic controllers. They put the blacks in there and took out the hard-working men who knew how to do it. And now hardly a day goes by where you don't hear a near miss in plane crashes and stuff. Because the blacks are there on affirmative action, not because they're qualified. But everybody seems to be okay with that, and they justify it. And the blacks are fine with it, too. They're saying out loud, black, you don't have it. Your little IQ thing ain't worth a dime. And you're not capable of coming up to the white people's standard, going up to the white people's standard. So we're going to lower the standard for you. And the blacks are like, yes, this is love. And then you have to pretend that the blacks are smart. The Daily Mail is reporting, in order to earn a diploma, graduating students were formerly required to earn standardized tests. Standardized test scores indicating proficiency in reading, writing, and math. Well, lo and behold, Oregon school chiefs have suspended the need for high schoolers to prove their skills in order to graduate. Watch this from CBS.
For the next 5 years, high school students in Oregon will not need to perform proficiency tests showing mastery of reading, writing, or math in order to graduate. And this comes as the Oregon Board of Education unanimously voted to extend a pause on the graduation requirement until 2028. They're citing inefficiency and inequity.
This is a controversial decision and one that's facing a lot of pushback. While some say the decision will lower state standards and cheapen an Oregon diploma, the Oregon Department of Education tells me this policy simply didn't work and disproportionately harmed students of color.
Students of color, they are too dumb to do it. I remember some time back, and I believe it was Hake and I and others, we had a discussion about the IQ of black people versus that of white people. And it was proven that the white people IQ were greater than the blacks IQ. Now you see why. Maybe that's true. Every black person, if they thought that they can be smart should be upset about this in the right way. They're telling you, you know what, Black? Y'all can't even graduate high school. You can't read, you can't write in 2023. So no more standardized tests. White people, y'all better take y'all better take your children out of these schools. Y'all better take your children out. They're dumbing them down. And all they're going to be able to do is rap about how they hate their mama. They don't have to take this test anymore. You ain't got to read. You ain't got to write. You don't have to go math. You Black. The test is too hard for you. Don't even try. And the Blacks are applauding it. If they were not applauding it, the parents of those kids would be rallying around that school right now saying, no, I want to rise up to the white man's standard. Now, Black people, do you see why white people believe that they're smarter than you? You don't even have to try. You just need to be Black. And our country will fall apart because you're not going to be able to run anything. Maggot out of... There's one line open, folks. 888-7753-773. Maggot out of Egypt. Heard around the world. Maggot, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hey, Jesse. How's it going?
All is well, sir.
So I had a quick question. So I agree with you when you say that all thoughts are lies. That I agree with. But if all thoughts are lies, how is it that, like the Bible says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he?
Because if you believe in your heart that you're wonderful, in your own mind you are, but in reality you're not. If you believe in your heart you're God, in your own mind you are, but in reality you're not.
But
the thought lies to you, and you become what you believe, but it doesn't bring you peace.
Okay, so then like I'll rephrase a bit. So what's the relationship between like thoughts and belief then?
They're the same. They're intellectual deceiving. It makes you think you believe when you really don't believe in God. Look at the Christians who say they believe in God. Their hearts are wicked. They're lonely. They have fear. They are jealous, envious, strife. They have no love. But they say they believe in God. It's just a word, intellectual word. They don't know him. They don't understand him. They don't know him, but they have an intellectual belief that they either heard about or read about, and that was it. And nothing changed inwardly.
So as far as the thoughts go, so there's just absolutely no use for thoughts in your opinion?
Except for practical thoughts about building yourself a house, buying yourself some food, looking both ways before you cross the road. That kind of, other than that, there's no use for thinking. Zero.
Okay, so how can I discern between a practical thought and a thought that's deceiving, or a thought that's just a lie?
When you're hungry, do you know you're hungry?
Yeah.
That's a practical thought. When you want to move to a new apartment, you know that you got to get a job, you got to have money to move, you got to look for it and everything.
Yeah.
That's a practical thought.
Okay, so could you give an example of an impractical thought?
When you think that, oh, I'm so sad, I'm so lonely, I'm so this. If I have a family, I would feel better. That's an impractical thought. When you think, oh, I need to go to college and get a degree, I'll feel better. I need to make money, I'll feel better. Impractical thoughts.
So what I'm understanding, I think, is impractical thoughts have way more to do with like the past or the future than practical thoughts.
100%.
Practical thoughts are like immediate.
Yes. Right here
Yeah.
and now.
Okay.
Whenever you
Okay,
get
that makes
into the past or the future, you're into non-practical thoughts. And we were not made or created to live by thoughts anyway, period. We were created to live by non-thinking. That's why when you stop thinking, you become a free person. When you walk in the spirit and in truth, you're away from thinking and you're walking in the spirit, meaning that you can see. And in seeing, there's nothing to think about.
Yeah, it's a life of knowing, I guess, yeah?
Yeah, it's a lack of not being able to see.
I meant it's a life of knowing, not a lack of knowing.
You want to know. And you can only know when you stay present. But if you don't stay present, you cannot know. You will never know the truth. You will never know the real you. You will never know God. And you will never know peace.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I have a follow-up question if you have a minute.
Real fast, yeah, go ahead.
So where does the observer like fit in regards to all of this, or in relation to all of what you just said?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Where does the observer come into play regarding all of this?
When the observer stay aware, when he stay awake, when he watch and never stop watching, he stay present. And you're watching the not you inside of the imagination, emotions. And as long as you watch that, you are present with God. And you're living a perfect life.
Okay, so where do you think intuition falls into all of this?
What's intuition?
I don't know. It's I guess like a knowing as well. And at least that's how it's defined.
So I don't know.
Spiritual knowing.
I don't know what that is, and it sounds like you don't either. You want to be aware. You don't want intuition thing.
Okay, that sounds good.
Practice being present instead of thinking about the past or future. All right.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Are you doing the silent prayer every morning, every night?
You know, I used to do it. I did it for like
no.
more than a year, every morning and every
Hold
night.
on, buddy. Hold on. Back in a moment. We have a counseling service, and I have to admit, thanks to God, it is the best counseling service on this side of heaven. I counsel with men and women, families, individuals around the world. Most people are unhappy, they're miserable, they have rough lives, they're depressed, suicidal, young and old, of all races. I understand, I know why, and I do understand it. Because exactly what's happening in me is happening with everybody outside of me, inside of them. And I've noticed that with those who really, really, really want to understand, they overcome it just like that, out of one counseling session. If you need counseling, you can go to rebuildingaman.com or call 800-411-2663. 800-411-BOND. Best counseling service on this side of heaven. 888-775-3773. There's a line open. Couple quick announcements. The Hake report is coming up at 9 a.m. this morning from 9 to 11. TheHakeReport.com. And it is Tuesday after the Hake Report every Tuesday. Joel Friday TV. Joel Friday TV. Black. What up? At 11 a.m. every Tuesday. And today, because it is Halloween, the American Anchor Baby have a special going on at 4 p.m. today. So get ready. It's going to be smooth sailing with the American Anchor Baby at 4 p.m. today. Special thing for Halloween. So don't forget that. And also a quick reminder, some of you know we are building a network here, a radio network of 24-hour talk with men only. All men, all males, all men. 24-hour talk. One block at a time. And so the JLP Radio Network on YouTube and Instagram channel are now officially active. The network channel is officially active on YouTube and Instagram. Amazing. Isn't that amazing? And we will be posting an exclusive episode of the hosts, all of them, together. We're going to be doing that as well as highlight from each channel. And here's a preview that will be up on the YouTube channel today after my show at 12 p.m. Pacific time. Watch this clip.
The leading cause of death and destruction in the world, listen to this, is denial. Denial.
Denial.
Facing the scary truth. The actual harm that we think we're gonna face by facing the truth is not the truth. It's the judgment about the truth.
Amazing. That's Joel Friday, one of the hosts on the JLP Talk Radio Network. Radio Network. So don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, comment, and donate. All right? We got to do it, men. It's time for men. I ain't used to men not being in charge. When I grew up, men were in charge, and the world was a better place. So follow us on, make sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at JLP Radio Network. What a mess. Let me go quickly back to Maggot out of Egypt. And he was asking very good questions about awareness and thoughts and all that kind of stuff. And come to find out, lo and behold, he's not even doing the silent prayer. Maggot.
Yes.
What's the purpose of asking me those questions when you're unwilling to do the work?
I mean, I kept up with it every morning and every night for like more than a year, but then like the thoughts got too loud and I felt like I was doing something wrong, and then I just took a break from it for a long while, admittedly, but I just got back into it like a few days ago, every morning and every night.
And so you let the devil talk you out of it. The devil like, oh, this is too much. You about to run me out of your body. Don't do this, stop, don't do it. And you stopped.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Sounds about right.
And you enjoy your hell, you enjoy your misery.
Not at all, no.
If you didn't enjoy it, if you didn't love your hell, why would you stop?
I felt like I was getting, like there was something wrong, like I'd sit down to do the silent prayer, and it was like there's no difference between just being unconscious in my everyday life. It's just I'm sitting somewhere, like the activity in my mind is the same. I'm just sitting somewhere else now.
And who told you that?
I'll just sit down and get lost in my head again, like as always.
And who
And then
told
it gets too loud. I think.
You think what? Go ahead.
I think I was trying too hard to like I was putting a lot of effort into it.
Who told you that? That you were trying too hard, you're putting too much effort?
I guess maybe I figured it out on my own.
Who told you?
Like.
Do you realize you were listening to the devil? He didn't want to depart from you, and he told you, you know what, man, you putting too much effort into this. You getting all these loud voices. You should stop. You're like, oh, okay, devil. Oh, okay, Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
What a shame, huh?
I should go. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah.
You should go where?
I think I should start listening to the audio again to like get a better, like to remember, because usually I just listen to it like once maybe or twice, and then I go do it on my own, and like I have these expectations like I need to, like I should be at peace now, and then like the exact opposite happens, and just like the thoughts get way too loud.
Yeah.
It gets way too noisy in my head, and then I just like I can't take it anymore, and then I just either like I get up from it before, like if I decide to do it for like 15 minutes, I get up like 9-10 minutes in, and then eventually I just like stopped altogether. I felt like I was doing something wrong,
but
like I needed to start over.
What made you think that was you thinking and feeling that way? Why do you think that was you?
I'm pretty I guess I'm very much identified with like the voice inside my head.
Why do you think that you are thoughts, the body, and the emotions? Why do you think that's you?
Like the first answer that comes to mind when like you ask this question is because I'm uncomfortable with the person I really am, I guess.
You don't know who you really are.
Yeah, or like this is the person, or this scares me, this idea that I'm not that person in my head, even though like the person or like the voice in my head is evil. But it's like what I've known for all of my life, not even most of my life. Like, that's how I.
Do you wear socks?
Yeah, I wear socks, yeah.
Are you your socks?
No.
Then why do you think you're your thoughts?
I'm not sure. I guess it's easier to identify with the thoughts than it is to live in the present.
Do you wear shoes?
Yep.
Then why do you think you're your body? Are you your shoes?
No.
Then why do you think you are your body?
I actually don't think I am my body, but like the thoughts thing, I have a very intimate relationship with my thoughts.
Why have you identified? I understand why you've done it, but why have you identified with thoughts thinking that they're your own?
Because I have like a pride problem, or or like I hate where I am in life.
Where are you in life?
Away into well, like my financial status, my like relationship with people, family, like the usual problems.
Where are you in life that you hate?
I'm not making as much money as I need to be.
And why do you hate that?
Because I'm ashamed of it.
Why?
It's not completely normal to be lived this way.
Speak up for me.
It's not completely normal to like live this way.
Normal compared to what?
other people my age, I guess, or men my age.
Why do you compare yourself to others?
It's not so much others than it is like a standard, you know, like the same way you say, like, if you live home past 18, then you're a female, and, you know, stuff like that.
Why do you compare yourself to a standard? Nobody is happy living a standard. Why are you comparing yourself to that?
I guess I have this desire to be doing better.
Better than what?
Better than than what I'm doing right now.
I'm sorry?
Better than what I'm doing right now.
And what is better? I don't mean if you make more money, that would be better?
Yeah.
How would that be better?
I'd have more options to travel, maybe.
And how would that bring you peace?
I guess it's just like I think that this would mean that I'm living my life as I should be living it, or. But yeah, I shouldn't be using words like should and.
Having money and traveling is not living a life. Having money and traveling means you're on the run looking for something you're never going to find.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And you should do what you want. Stop comparing yourself to other people, period. And be at peace with what you have, and it's going to be amazing. But if you compare yourself to others, you compare yourself to devils who are unhappy as well. And you want to be like the devils.
I completely agree. Like, I've been like reflecting on this, and like I've gotten way better with like comparing myself to others. Like, I stopped doing it naturally, even like I didn't even have to force myself. But like considering or like reflecting on things you say and like how life is in general, like I realized that everybody is running away from something, and
every human being doing that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and everyone is like trying to cover up the fact that they're like resentful.
Yes.
With like experiences and going out and like doing whatever.
They're lost, and they covered it up and thinking outer things going to make them have peace, and it's not. I hear men and women tell me, "Oh, if I had a family, I'd be mad." That's so dumb. I don't know what to do with it. Having a family only add more hell to your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Because now you and your wife going to fight, the kids going to go nuts, you got more problems. That's not the answer. But listen, I got to run. I recommend you go back to the prayer. Don't let the devil talk you out of it. But it's up to you.
Yeah, I am back doing it, actually.
And stop trying to live like someone else. Stop comparing yourself to anyone or anything. And just live your life, because if you think you want more than what you have, you're going to feel like you have less. And if you think you have less, you're going to feel like you want more. You shouldn't be living like that. That's an abnormal way of living.
Yeah, it sounds very dumb indeed.
It is.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Jesse.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
See how it's the same spirit everywhere? Everywhere. Jessica, there's a line open, folks. 888-775-3773. Jessica out of Pennsylvania. Jessica, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Jesse. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You're welcome.
So I'll just kind of, first of all, before I get into what I'm going to talk about, I have to say that whenever you mention on your show anyone except for Jessica's daddy, I got to tell you that cracks me up every time I hear it.
Everybody on drugs except baby Jessica's daddy.
Yeah, it cracks me up. So the reason for my call is, I did forgive my mother. I don't know, it's been quite a few weeks now. And I've been doing the silent prayer, and it's been interesting because, when I went to go and forgive my mother, as I've heard other callers call in, I'm trying to explain it to her, and after every couple things I say, she'll say, what are you apologizing for again? And so I kind of just left that thing. I said what I needed to say, but those thoughts kind of started, and they were trying to tell me, you didn't do it right. So I just kind of ignored them, and I continued in the silent prayer. And as I started doing that, forgiveness has already happened, but I always thought I just had some sort of hate, just in-rooted hate. But during the silent prayer, and as I've been doing it more, I'm realizing the root of that. And it was because I saw my mom as a god.
Yeah.
I always wanted her approval, the way I dressed, every single thing in my life. I felt hated, but at the same time wanted that approval. And now with dealing with my mother, it's incredible because now it's all of that dropped away. Every single, wanting the approval, viewing her that way, it is just totally gone away. And I just have to thank you for, telling all of us the truth about it, because even apologizing and thinking what I thought, understanding, it's a spiritual thing she doesn't know. But God revealed more to me, no, you saw her as a god. You're more concerned about her judgment on you than me.
Yep.
My question is, so I've been doing the silent prayer, and I'm realizing that not every time, but there's this sense of fear that comes over me. And there's thoughts that will tell me you're dying. And it'll happen outside of the silent prayer and sometimes in the silent prayer. And then I've also been experiencing it feels like presence comes in the room, but unwanted. And so again, there's this sense of fear. And I just want to make sure that is what's supposed to happen. When you talk about going through hell and coming back. I'm sorry, I know that was kind of a lot, but I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Number one, I want to tell you that what you describe your relationship, the way you describe your relationship with your mother, you saw her at one time as a god. That is the problem with every black person on this planet. They see their mothers and grandmothers as a god. And their mothers and grandmothers go out of their way to pretend to be God. And ain't nothing going to get, they got all that, the woman or anyone come between that. That's exactly what, it ain't about racism, it's about that. That's what every human being has. But especially the blacks, and I mention the blacks because the blacks are being catered to right now with material stuff and told that they don't need to take the high school test or anything. And they're keeping the blacks in hell. And as far as this fear you're feeling, that's not you that's feeling the fear. That's the spirit of evil that is afraid of the light that is in you now because it knows that it's going to have to depart from you and go make a home in somebody else if you stay with the light. And it is dying, but it's not you dying. It's that false identity that you had by identifying with those things, the thoughts and the feelings and the fear and all that, thinking that was you. And God said, in order to live, you must die. Meaning that the ego nature, which is of evil, must die and you will live. You'll be fine.
Okay, so I guess in when those situations might arise, at that point, do I just kind of just stick through it? Because, I mean, I'm not believing in them.
Right.
When it happens, you know, I sit still and I remember, like, where I am, you know, that I am fine. sometimes I'll even check my pulse because I just, it's just, because it feels, you talk about these things and, to experience it is just something else. It really feels like it's you, but I know it's not.
Right.
By listening to you and having that realization. So I guess just when it happens, just kind of just stick through it and just ride it out. And don't believe it, just watch it.
Yeah. As long as you don't have physical issues going on. You die through the spiritual, go right through hell in fear and trembling. And on the other side of hell is heaven. Absolutely. Let it die. Let it die. You're going to feel like you're afraid. You're going to feel like you're dying because you've identified with this thing for so long as you. So it feels like you're dying, and it's going to scream, what will you be if I'm not here? What will you be if you lose your thoughts? What will it be if you don't feel that way? And it's the spirit of evil, that's screaming out because it can't handle the light inside of you, and it will have to depart from you. Go through the hell, go through the valley of the shadow of death, and on the other side of the valley of the shadow of death is heaven.
Okay, great. Yeah, absolutely. I that's all I had, and I really appreciate your time today. I thank you very much.
You're welcome. Stay with it. Stay with it. And it will have to depart from you. It is not you. It's a false identity. All right?
Yes, got it. Thank you so much, Jesse. Appreciate you.
Amazing call. You're welcome. I got to take a break.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Amazing. I got to take a break. One more hour to go. We're going to come back to your super chats and phone calls. Hake is coming in with the hate news. Not the fake news. The guy with the good hair. I'll be back in a moment. Steve, thank you for calling and thanks for holding. How have you been helped by the show?
I'm going to tell you this. I believe you might go down in history as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, black man that ever lived on planet Earth, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know anybody before you that's been that great. Freeing the slaves is one thing, but you've been freeing people of their mind, which matters, it should be anyhow, to you more than anything else, because with the mind not being right, there ain't nothing else going to happen right anyway.
If you can doubt every thought because you're not your thoughts, if you can doubt every thought, knowing that you're not your thoughts, you don't create them, they're not from God, that they're from the deceiver, the great deceiver, Satan. If you can doubt every thought, you can be free, just like that. At an instant. Bring every thought into captivity. It's so amazing.
Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie joined the mainstream media in attacking Trump because Mexico hasn't fully paid for the wall yet. And the phony AI companies are getting pushed by even phonier government and mainstream media to be anti-white and pretend to, give the government information before giving the public information. And eye drops can cause eye infections from unsanitary manufacture. Who are these people with their unsanitary manufacturing practices? And watch out for lead poisoning from kids' fruit pouches, whatever those things are. This is the end of hour 2 of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. It's Tuesday, Halloween, October 31st, 2023 AD. Stay tuned for hour 3. Last hour of JLP is coming right up, guys. But first, Hake News, not fake news. Men's Forum is first Thursday of the month. That's November 2nd. 2023, 7 p.m. at Bond in Los Angeles. Rebuildingtheman.com/events if you need more info. Or you can call Bond office, 1-800-411-BOND, Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 are office hours. You can call and leave a message at any time, though, if you want to get more information. The border wall phony propaganda, so-called our greatest president, Donald J. Trump, not to be confused with so-called President Biden, over the weekend falsely claimed, according to CNN, that he'd campaigned for the presidency in 2016 on a promise that Mexico would pay for a piece of his border wall. He said, we're going to build a wall, and Mexico is going to pay for it. If they're paying for a peace, are they paying? Trump is now leading the 2024 presidential field, obviously, criticized by rival candidates, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, DeSanctimonious, and former New Jersey Governor Fat Rhino Chris Christie for supposedly breaking his signature campaign promise to get Mexico to pay for the wall, showing that they're lame, right? The wall was built and paid for by Americans. The Trump administration rightly directed more than $16 billion in federal money toward the project, the only proper job of the federal government, am I right? On the Trump campaign website, it said, in 2016, it said remittances from the Mexicans in America sending their money home will go towards paying for the wall. Our greatest president later tweaked his rhetoric, claiming Mexico would completely reimburse the U.S. for the wall. And that did not occur, according to CNN, due to the constant undermining of President Trump by people who don't want Americans put first like Trump does. AI is anti-white propaganda, but the mainstream media is covering it up. CNN and the Skim report on the evil fake president. Yesterday, Monday, Joe Biden signed his first sweeping executive order about AI to monitor and regulate the risks of artificial intelligence, while also harnessing its potential for evil. The biggest impact of the EO, executive order, requires tech companies making powerful AI systems such as evil Google and OpenAI to share results of any safety tests with the evil government before releasing findings to the public. That makes no sense, does it? The Black on the Inside White House feigns concern that developing AI poses national security or health risks. Obama administration part 3, that's Biden, pushes standards to help avoid biological risks, whatever that means, from AI and the threat of AI replacing workers. Oh, it's going to happen. They are being replaced. Biden called the order the most significant action of any government that any government has taken on AI. More action is needed through Congress, and Chuck Schumer is on the case. We have to move fast, really fast, ideally faster than the technology itself, said White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients, not a Christian, Obama holdover, said, recounting Biden's directive to his team to make AI a top priority. So what a mess. It's a red tape wish list, according to NetChoice, a national trade association that includes major tech platforms, would end up stifling new companies and competitors from entering the marketplace and significantly expanding the power of the evil federal government over American innovation. That's what they said, and it sounds true to me. Watch out for eye drops. Warning, 26 eye drop products, including from CVS, Target, and Rite Aid. They've canceled them, but could lead to serious eye infections, said the FDA on Monday. This has been going on for months, by the way. They found insanitary conditions, they called it. Why are they using the British word? It's unsanitary conditions in manufacturing facility and bacteria test results. I'm James Hake. Now back to JLP, Hour 3.
To stand up strong, face the truth about themselves, to understand what went wrong. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way. I know we can find a way to stand up, stand up.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Welcome to the third hour of the show already. You can get involved by calling 888-7753, 773, 888-77-JESSE. JESSE. My biblical question for this week, and it's a doozy, the biblical question. Are you a pitiful person? Are you a pitiful person? An amazing question. Are you a pitiful question? We have every way that you can watch and support the show listed on JesseLeePeterson.com/show. JesseLeePeterson.com/show. And if you're out and about and you're not able to sit and watch the show, you're trying to cross the borders into my country, you're working with the cartels, you're one of the cell people that hide out to be called upon by Allah Abba people, whatever you might be doing, you could be listening to the show. What the? By calling the listen line at 641-793-1500. 641-793-1500. And you can podcast the show later. All right? But you can be listening and doing whatever you're doing anywhere in the world. And don't forget to follow us, JLP Talk on X and Jesse Lee Peterson on Instagram. Like, follow, subscribe, and blah, blah, blah. Support. Also, to donate and have your super chats read out loud, go to buymeacoffee.com/JLP Talk. Buymeacoffee.com/JLP Talk. Rebuildingtheman.com or Bond JLP on Cash App. Bond JLP on Cash App. All right. It's Tuesday. It's the last hour of the show today on Tuesday. It is Country and Western Tuesday.
Once each year, as October breezes bluster, there comes a most particular and most peculiar night. An anxious sort of night, when the dark grows a little more so. A jittery sort of night, when nothing is quite as it was. A night called Halloween.
What the? Who let the dogs out? Amazing. Amazing. It is Halloween today. Ooh. Be careful with the kids, folks. They're putting needles and everything in candy today, according to some of the reports. So I have with me, to the callers and your super chats, I'm going to get to them, all right, today. And to the callers, hold on, I will get to you as well. I have with me your friend, my
with you again.
I like your country and western hat today.
Oh, yeah. Well, I wear that every day.
Amazing. Nice. Bill, how you been?
I've been doing great. You know, so I don't guess I told you, but that we were able to go over to Palestine. Actually, that didn't materialize, but we were going to go on follow Paul's missionary journey. So we started in Rome, and we had planned this trip, my wife and I, for the last year, paid our advance monies and so forth. And so we started in Rome, but 2 days before we left, we were leaving October 9, and October 7, of course, I was listening to the news as I was shaving in the morning. I thought, the Palestine portion of the trip is cut out. And of course, indeed it was. And of course, that's not the sad thing. The sad thing is what's actually occurring over there. But at any rate, we went on a 3-week cruise. We went all over the Mediterranean, went to Ephesus, Athens, Santorini, the island of Cyprus, Rhodes, Crete. And it's all the places where Paul had trekked. So at any rate, we're happy to be back.
Well, I'm glad you made it back. What?
Yeah.
That's amazing. When I hear those cities, those areas that you name off, Athens and all that, it reminds me of when I would read the Bible as a kid. I never imagined that one day I would go and see some of those places. And when I went, it was amazing to be walking through the Bible like that.
Yeah, it is amazing. We had professional guides. We had a group of 55 people from the Churches of Christ who went, and the man who led it is John Moore from the Bear Valley School of Preaching in Denver, Colorado. Just a great, godly man. And so we went on this tour, but we had 55 people on the tour. So but that was among the thousands and thousands of people that were there. But we had these tour guides that were just professional archaeologists, schooled men, and it was just really enlightening. It was just worth a semester worth of studies to be there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was really great.
Well, I'm glad you guys had a good time and made it back safely, especially right now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, well, we were in Cyprus, which was 90 miles from Haifa, and I thought, well, I wondered, I thought this is kind of close, but the ships all came in there, the tour ships, and it seemed like everything was peaceful there, but I know just 90 miles away, it was not peaceful at all.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like it's going to get peaceful, so.
Yeah. Well, everybody here is saying happy Halloween to you, Bill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, happy Halloween. So, Bill, what's going on with this war with Israel and Palestine? Why is it happening, and what's the real deal?
Well, it's a complicated question, but to simplify it, and people are going to fall out with me on some of this, and that's fine. But the Zionist movement actually began in Britain, and about in the 1900s. That would be of course in the actually in the 1800s. It would be in the 19th century, and so there's the Zionist movement, which wanted to find a homeland for the Jews that were coming out of Russia and other places. And so, regardless of the Palestinians who lived there, they wanted to create a state for the Jews that seemed to be expatriated from different countries. And that also caught on with people such as Herzl, who wrote a book about Zionism, and he himself was an agnostic Jewish man, but Theodor Herzl, which was about the turn of the century, last century. So from that, in Britain, it was transported to America. So it's a Zionist movement. And so they created a state. The United Nations created the state of Israel in 1948. And so many pulpits were buzzing with activity, thinking that this was somehow the fulfillment of biblical prophecy, which it was not. But nevertheless, that created a big, there was a lot of problems with that. And so there have been tensions ever since. So I'm not trying to justify anything that's occurred on the Palestinian side, but I will say that, of course, that the horrific attacks by Islam, the Islamic group Hamas, that had occurred on October 7th, of course, it was very gruesome, horrific, and is inexcusable on all accounts. And of course, Israel has been our friend as a political friend to America for a long time, but that's some of the background to it. And so there's not going to be any peace or rest over there at all, as far as I'm able to discern. So it's really a sad deal. But of course, there are two sides to it, and Islam is all about the warlike. So of course, if Muhammad's the perfect Muslim to them, and this is how Muhammad behaved. And so they conquered much of the ancient world, and that's what happened. That's what they're doing. So they're following the teachings of Islam. On the other hand, there's a lot of people in the Christian world here in America who think this is all somehow the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Once again, I'll emphasize it is not. They have no Bible passage, not one, that teaches that these things are somehow the fulfillment of books, the book of Revelation or the book of Daniel or anything from Matthew 24. But be that as it may, it's a political football that's really, really volatile right now.
Amazing. So I want to break that down a little bit. Then I want to get to the biblical prophecy. What does Zionism mean exactly?
Zionism is the belief that the land of Israel is the ancient homeland of the Jews, and that it's theirs by divine right. And so Zionism is about putting the Jews back into Palestine as to their homeland. And that, of course, is a misguided idea because they take it from the cues of Genesis that here's the land that God gave to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. However, not paying a bit of attention to the fact that that was all conditional upon their obedience to God and that they would be driven off of the land if they were not faithful to God. God completely fulfilled his promise, giving them that land. They were unfaithful and they were driven off, and God broke the nation of Israel because of their unfaithfulness to God. And we see that in the book of Jeremiah. We see it in the New Testament as well. Our Lord himself stated that this house is left unto you desolate, speaking of the Israeli people or the nation of Israel. So consequently, Zionism is a misguided belief that the land of Israel, the land of Palestine, still belongs to the Jews, and we need to somehow put the Jews there as a state. So having said that, I want to hurry and add that Israel has been our friend politically to the United States, but there is no religious basis for it. It is misguided religious ideas that has conceived it.
Amazing. And so being black and slow, I have to break it down a little bit more.
Okay,
so,
well, that's, I need to too.
So at one time, there were no Jews in that area. They didn't live there, and the land was owned by the Palestinians.
Well, that's a generalization, but that's basically correct. Palestinian people, Arab people, have occupied that territory for 1,000 years.
And where were the? Oh, finish your point.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's it. They've occupied that territory for 1,000 years. That's not to say there were no Jews there, because there were always some Jews there, but that's different than the Zionist movement that created the state of Israel, which came to fruition in 1948 under the auspices of the United Nations. And that got all the pulpits in America all buzzing with activity, all the millennialists thinking that this is somehow the fulfillment of biblical prophecy.
And so, though there were some Jews there, the land was owned by the Palestinians, but there were Jews there. And then at some point, it sounded like the United Nations decided, you know what? So, let me ask this first. Where were the Jews living before they moved to Palestine and divided the land like that? Where were they living?
Well, there were many Jews that lived in various countries. They lived in places like Ukraine. They lived in Russia. As a matter of fact, Vladimir Lenin was a Jew, and so were many of the leaders, such as Karl Marx, a Jew, and so Friedrich Engels, a Jew. So these were all Jews. They were living in Germany, Ukraine. They lived in Russia. They lived in Romania. Some of them lived in Palestine. They lived all over, and there were many Jews in America. So they were scattered around. And those were the Jews that were living at the time in the various countries.
Amazing. And so at the time when they were living in Palestine, Russia, all those other places, did they own that land, or they just happened to be living there and somebody else owned the land? Russia owned the land.
They were simply living there. That was the Soviet Union, the old Soviet Union, and even back into the empire before that, the Russia that was there, they were living there, but they did not rule the land. It was not a Jewish hegemony. The same thing regarding other countries. They were scattered among the nations, and so it came to pass in the 1940s. Actually, the movement began in the 19th century with in the country of Britain, and these individuals who were millennialists believed that the millennium was upon us. And such as John Nelson Darby, who began the premillennial, one of the leaders of the premillennial movement in Britain, exported it to America and was telling us that, that the land of Palestine belongs to the Jews. And so what we need to do is we need to create a nation state for Israel there. And so those individuals, such as John Nelson Darby and William Blackstone and others, also influenced some of the leading individuals in Great Britain, such as David Lloyd George and others who had influence, and for political purposes, even backing up to Napoleon. Napoleon wanted to create a state for the Jews here, but that was for political purposes because he had conquered that territory and he wanted to create that state. So the same thing with the English Parliament. There were many leaders of English or in England at the time of Great Britain who wanted to create a state for the Jews. And they were also brought up under the tutelage of many millennial thinkers such as John Nelson Darby, William Blackstone, and others who wanted to create a state for Israel. They were not able to do so until the United Nations, actually, they passed it off to the United Nations, and the UN created the Israeli state in 1948.
Amazing. And so, you know, the blacks had Africa, the Japanese had China or Japan, and the Chinese people had China, and the Mexican had Mexico. Why didn't the Jew and Russia had Russia? Why didn't the Jew have land? Why were they scattered with no homeland?
Why? Well, so first of all, this is exactly what the Old Testament predicted over and over and over again. There's not a prophet in the Old Testament that does not state very plainly that God is going to destroy this nation. You will be scattered among the nations unto whom you have been taken captive because of their disobedience to God. That's exactly what God predicted would exactly happen. As a matter of fact, Jeremiah the prophet in chapter 19 was told to go to a potter's house, get a clay pot, and go to the elders of Israel that were meeting in the valley of Hinnom, and to break that pot in the midst of the elders and say, as this pot has been broken and cannot be made whole again, so it will be with this people. That's because of their idolatry and their wickedness and their apostasy from God. So that's exactly what happened. There was a small remnant that came back from captivity under the leadership of men such as Nehemiah and Zerubbabel and Ezra, but there was only a small remnant. Most of the Jews stayed in the country of Babylon. They had been taken there to Babylonian captivity. Most of the Jews stayed in Babylon. They did not own that country. That was not their country. It was a Babylonian nation, which was taken over by the Persians, which was in turn taken over by the Romans, but they were in Babylon. As a matter of fact, the Talmud, the most authoritative Talmud, that's the Jewish writings, comes out of Babylon, the Babylonian Talmud. So they stayed in those countries where they had been driven from Old Testament captivity, period. And that was because of their unfaithfulness to God, and that's what God had intended. So there was a small Jewish state in the time of our Lord. But even Jesus said, because they had rejected the Messiah, he said to them in Matthew 23, verses 33 through 36, your house is left unto you desolate. It's empty. And God removed the blessings from Israel at that point because they had been disobedient to God. And they were no nation. And so Rome destroyed it in AD 70 and then finalized it in 125.
And so prior to the Jews being disobedient to God back in Babylon days, did they have land then?
No.
They had no.
No, they didn't.
So
they didn't. They lost their deed to the land of Palestine, just as Moses had predicted would happen. Moses told them that it would happen. Deuteronomy chapter 4, he says, if you're going to, this was before they went in. The Canaanite people owned the land. He said, you're going to drive them out. That's God's mandate, drive them out because of their wickedness. But he said, if you do not follow God, if you're not faithful, this is Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 26 and 27, as well as Deuteronomy chapter 28. If you're not faithful, you're going to lose the deed to the land. You're going to lose the land. You'll be driven out into all the nations that are existing, and you will not have a homeland. Basically, you'll not have a place because you'll be driven out, because if you're unfaithful to God, you'll not keep the land.
So this is so interesting to me. So just which land did they have that God said, I'm going to take away from you because you've been unfaithful? What land did they have before, when he warned them of that?
So when he warned them that, Deuteronomy, they were on the eastern side of the Jordan River. They had not yet gone into the land of Canaan. God had promised them the land of Canaan, even all the way to the land of the Euphrates River. He had promised that to them Solomon ruled over that same land in his period. So before they owned that land, God told them, you're going to get this land. This is what I've promised to Abraham, Genesis chapter 12 and verse 7. I'll give you the land where you sojourn, but that would be for his descendants. So Moses was taking them in, and he said, here's the land. God's given it to you, but you better remain faithful or you will lose the land. He will drive you off of the land if you don't keep it. So before they possessed the land, God told them, you better remain faithful. They did not remain faithful. God took them away to captivity. The northern tribes were taken, 10 northern tribes taken to Assyrian captivity. They lost their national identity. They were scattered among the peoples. Very small, there's a remnant of them that remained faithful, but most of them disseminated among the peoples. So now we have the land of Judah, only that is left. That is the kingdom of Judah. They were taken to captivity also for the same reasons, 150 years later. So now they're all scattered. God said, I'll bring you back, but there's only going to be a small remnant that returns. Amazing. Only a small portion. They came back, but they did not own the land. They were under the auspices of the Persian Empire at the time. So Persians, and then the Greeks, and then the Romans, but they had a small land there, but they were unfaithful to God continually, murdering the Messiah, and God took it all away from them.
And how come God was so hard on the Jews? Everybody was doing wrong, all races, right? Why was he so hard on the Jews?
God was not hard on the Jews. According to Romans chapter 9, Paul tells us this. He said he had much long suffering with the Jewish people, much long suffering. He put up with them for many, many years, and finally, they were dispossessed of the land. He said God had put up with them for so many years and their disobedience to God. And that's what Paul tells us in Romans 9:22 through 26. So God was much long suffering with them. But he tells us in Romans chapter 9, there's a new Israel, and that is from non-Jews and Jews coming into Christ, and that is now the Israel of God. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 16.
And so was God a Jew or something? How come he was required so much of the Jews? I mean, why did he like them better than anybody else?
He didn't like them better, but to whom much is given, much is required.
I know, but why that group of people? Finish your point.
Well, God selected a nation, but that nation was solely crafted in order to bring to the world the Christ, the Messiah. That's why they were given the law. That's why they were given the blessings. That's why because if God had given, for example, Jesse, his blessings to a people here and a people there and someone over here and over there, you would never be able to keep the scriptures collected in one canon and one book. You would never be able to keep all of the storyline intact. So God selected a nation in order to bring Christ into the world. But when Christ came into the world, he fulfilled all the prophecies, and the nation of Israel was no more. Consequently, Jesus tells them their house was left unto them desolate, Matthew 23, verse 39. And the new Israel of God is the church. That's why we have in 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 5 and following, you are an elect race. You are a holy nation. What? Christians are a holy nation, a people for God's own possession. The church, Christian people, are God's Israel today. That's what Romans 9 teaches, Galatians 6. That's why Paul tells us in Philippians chapter 3, every advantage he had in the Jewish religion was nothing. It was garbage to him, that he might know Christ and be found in him, not having a righteousness of mine own, even that which is of the law, but that which is through faith in Christ.
So the Christians are the real Jews?
That's correct.
Really?
That's right. Romans chapter 2, verses 28 and 29.
So why don't
He is not a Jew who is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh, but he is a Jew who is one inwardly, whose circumcision is that of the heart in the spirit, whose praise is not of men but of God.
That's amazing. So why don't we wear those little hats instead of the Jews?
Well, maybe we should. I'm wearing a hat now, but it's got a big brim on it.
And so, and And so the Jews were disobeying God by doing what?
Number one, they committed idolatry. They committed idolatry just as the Canaanites were doing. They committed adultery, and God called it not only adultery with the people of the land, fornication, but it was adultery to him. They committed child sacrifice under the leadership of Ahaz, one of the kings of Judah. They committed child sacrifice with other kings as well. They had several reformatory movements, such as Hezekiah, the son of Ahaz, but nevertheless, they committed horrific crimes in Israel, the northern kingdom, and Judah, the southern kingdom, after the kingdom split. They committed horrific crimes, and they committed them in the Valley of Hinnom. They sacrificed their own children, burning them alive to the false gods that the Moabites had worshipped, as well as other foreign nations. As a matter of fact, God told them when they went into the land of Canaan, if they didn't drive them out, but they would adopt their policies and their religious practices, they would be driven out. What happened? They went into the land of Canaan. They allowed certain people to stay. They pretty soon adopted some of the Canaanite religion, and that's the kind of practices they did. Consequently, God said, "You've become odious to me." He drove them out. They lost their deed to the land of Canaan. Now, I know that John Hagees of the world are not going to be happy to hear that. I've written to people like John Hagee and other ones, David Jeremiah, and asked them to debate and discuss these issues. But, you don't hear from them at all. They just want to go on with this pro-Israel policy, saying that, well, all of this, what's happening in the Mideast today, is somehow the fulfillment of biblical prophecy, and somehow the state of Israel is the fulfillment of what we have in the Bible. Not so.
Amazing. Maybe I can get a debate with you and John Hagee or one of those guys.
That'd be great. If they'll pay attention to you, that'd be wonderful.
So I have a question from someone.
Okay.
Are the Jews today from the real tribe of Judah of Israel?
No, they're not. So that's a great question. I didn't bring it up earlier, but here is the historical survey. And that is that when the Jews were finally destroyed in 70 AD, and then again in 125, and they had another Jewish settlement on the banks of the Mediterranean Sea. They were destroyed by the Romans. Because they kept on rebelling against the Roman Empire. The Romans were tired of them, and so the Romans destroyed them. They destroyed the temple. Matter of fact, Titus wanted to spare the temple, but in 70, he wanted to spare the temple. His father Vespasian had left him in charge of what was going on in Jerusalem. Titus wanted to spare the temple because it was an ancient wonder of the world, but the soldiers were so frustrated and angry, and they had setbacks.
Hold that thought. Let me take a quick break. Hold that thought. I got to take a break. 888-775-3773. Back in a moment. Check out my book, For Raised to Responsibility. I show you how I was able to overcome anger. The spirit of anger was taken away from me. I had it. And as a result of having anger, I was insecure. I had doubt, worry, fear. I was in a fallen state and didn't know it. And it wasn't until I went and forgave my mother, who tried to turn me away from my father. I forgave my father for not being there and returned back to him. My spirit connected with his spirit, and through him, I was able to return to God. And I have perfect peace. Perfect love casts out anger. And when anger is gone, fear and doubt, worry, insecurity, suicidal thoughts, all of that is gone, and you are free. Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, or if you want an autographed copy, you can go to my website at rebuildingtheman.com or call 800-411-BOND. Okay. Welcome back. Hey, I just sent you a note. 888-775-3773. Couple announcement. The Hake Report is coming up at the top of this hour. The Hake Report is coming up at the top of this hour from 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific time. And then after the Hake Report is Joel Friday TV. He black. Every Tuesday, Joel Friday TV from 11 to noon. And then because of Halloween, the American Anchor Baby is doing a special today, a Halloween special thing. So instead of 12 p.m., he's coming on at 4 p.m. today. Ooh, he's going to be flying high, but not all pot, not all fentanyl, of the energy of God on loan from God. The American Anchor Baby at 4 p.m. today, all right? I want to get back to Bill because this is so interesting to me. And Bill Lockwood, our friend, your friend, and the next president after Donald Trump.
Okay.
He's a friend, but ain't that much of, no, I'm playing. Bill, tell the folks how to get to your radio show, your Bible study, and whatever you want to put out there.
Sure. Thank you, Jesse. The it's not a radio show, really. It's a podcast. It's patrioticpulpit.com. It's Patriotic Pulpit, and it is on Amazon Music app as well as Spotify app, and that's where the Patriotic Pulpit is. Not only so, but I have Bible studies with Bill Lockwood. You can find that on YouTube. That comes out of the church. I preach at the Iowa Park Church of Christ, so Bible studies with Bill Lockwood. And so you can go there. The website for the church is iowaparkcoc.org, so iowaparkcoc.org. And I have sermons on these kind of things. I've had special series on all of these topics through the years, but that's the websites that you'll find my writings. I write a lot of material and that kind of thing. So those are the websites.
All the information that you're putting out there today, where are you getting all that from?
So, okay, so it depends upon what specific you're talking about.
About the Jews and not owning land, and God punished them because they weren't act right. And
okay, that all is from the Old Testament and the New Testament. That's Bible. So the fact that the land was given to the Jews in the Old Testament, it was conditional. It was conditional upon their obedience to God. They were unfaithful. They lost the land. The land does not belong to them by divine right any longer. And that's something that people need to understand. And I have, that's just something that I know everybody in the evangelical pulpits are going to jump and scream about that, because all they know is what John Hake tells them, and that is that God promised it to Abraham and his descendants forever, and therefore it's theirs and it belongs to them even today. That's not the case.
Which land are you referring to that they had, God gave to them at one time, or John Hake would refer to? Which land did God give them? And then they didn't act right, he took it back.
Yeah, well, that was the land of Canaan that would be that was primarily on the western side of the Jordan River. But he did make the statement that would be even to the river Euphrates, the larger land of Canaan would be belonging to Israel. Solomon ruled over that land. That land was given to them. Joshua said in Joshua 23, all the land has been given that God has promised you. God gave it to them. They possessed the eastern side of the Jordan River. They took it from Og, the king of Bashan. They took it from the Moabites. They had the eastern side, the western side. All the land was given. But they were unfaithful, and God removed them from that land and he told them he would do that. So that was a conditional promise to the Jews. So that's materials all Bible. Regarding the destruction of Jerusalem, you can read about the prediction of it that the Lord gave in Matthew chapter 24. Regarding the fact that the church is the Israel of God today, you can read that in a multitude of passages in the New Testament, including Romans chapter 9, including Romans chapter 2, verses 28 and 29, including Galatians chapter 6, including 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 5 through 9, as well as Philippians chapter 3. All of those texts and more also show us that the church, God's people, is the Israel of God today, and that all Christians are priests before God. There's not a single line in the New Testament, including the book of Revelation, Jesse, that predicts there's going to be a reinstitution of the land of Israel, that there's going to be a rebuilt temple, that the rites of Moses, that the old tabernacle or old temple system would be set up with sacrifices. Nothing at all ever predicts that. That is the figment of the Jewish imagination and the evangelical imagination.
And why?
So regarding, and I was going to get back to the question that you asked regarding the Jews today. Do they come from the tribe of Judah? The answer is no. Why? Well, because number one, all of the records showing that what the bloodlines are were destroyed when the temple was destroyed in 70. There's not a Jew today that can tell you of what tribe he belongs, to what tribe he belongs. They can't tell you what tribe they belong to because those distinctions are gone. And in order to have Judaism, you have to have a tribal distinction because Judaism depends upon the Levites and the family of Kohath in order to have priests. So that's gone. So all of the records were destroyed. Number two, in the 125 period, there was a uprising led by Bar Kokhba, who was a Jew left over from the time of 70. There were a number of Jews that were now living on the banks of the Mediterranean Sea up towards Syria, and there were a lot of scholars and rabbinical scholars that were there. There were very small pockets of them, but now in the steppes of Russia, in the early Middle Ages, their kingdoms were so corrupt that they wanted to hire Jews in order to instill in them some religious fervor. So they hired these Jewish rabbis to come and teach them. So the Jews today, what we call the Jews today, actually come from the middle kingdoms of Russia. That's why we find so many Jews in Russia during the Middle Ages and the period immediately thereafter. Judaism today is Talmudism, and the Talmud are the accretions, the additions that were added to the Old Testament law by Jewish rabbis through the centuries, even beginning from the time of Ezra in the Old Testament. Beginning from that period, they added so many traditions to the Old Testament, and that became what is Talmudism or Judaism today, the Midrash. So that's Judaism. It does not trace back to the Jews of the tribe of Judah. So no one can show that.
How come do the Jews know that the Christians are the real Jews?
No, and many Christians don't know that either.
Right.
They, even though it's right there on the pages of the New Testament, plain as day, they still deny it because we have been hoodwinked by so many evangelical preachers, such as the David Jeremiahs and the John Hagees of the world and the John Walvards and the Dallas Theological Seminary, that tells us that the Jews of bloodline Jews are still somehow God's chosen people today. That is absolutely false. Amazing. The Bible does not teach that.
Have you ever debated any Jews about this?
You know what? You can't get anybody to debate because they don't want to stand up and discuss it. They don't want it. They don't want to give the sunlight of God's truth to their theories.
And why is that?
Because the sunlight of God's truth is disinfectant. That's why.
So I'm gonna see. I have some Jew friends. I'm gonna see if I could get them to debate you about these issues as well.
Sure, but you know what? They'd be great. But it needs to be someone who's notable among them.
Right.
Not just a Tom, Dick, or Harry.
Right. I know some Jews who are known. They're real popular in the Jew world.
Okay, that'd be great.
Let me ask.
But evangelical preachers also. in the Baptist churches, the Pentecostal churches. They're filled with the ranks are filled with these individuals. These are the ones also that we need to recognize. I mean, as far as debating, those are the ones that we need to debate.
Who is that?
Evangelical preachers in the Baptist
yeah.
pulpits, the Methodist pulpits, the Presbyterian pulpits, Dallas Theological Seminary. It's filled with pro-Jewish doctrine.
I would definitely work on that. Let me ask. Oh, you know who Hake is, right? Of the Hake Report.
I do know James Hake. I've met him personally. What a wonderful man. Great man.
He want to know. He want to know, is Netanyahu a evil man or a good man?
I don't believe he's evil. As far as the juncture where we are in history, I'm supportive of Benjamin Netanyahu. At the same time, we need to recognize what is the history of the creation of Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu is a Zionist. His father was a Zionist. He tells that in his biography. They were Zionists. Who are Zionists? Those who said that the land of Israel, that which we know in the Old Testament, but now has been occupied by Palestinians for over 1,000 years, belongs by divine right to Israel or Jews. And so with the aegis and the control of the United Nations, they created the state of Israel. But I like Benjamin Netanyahu. I think he's a great leader. I think he's a leader that is a friend to the United States. And what Hamas did, there's no excuse for it, no matter if they're occupying the land that the Palestinians say is theirs. That is horrific, what happened on October 7th. And I just despise that kind of activity. But that is Islam. That's what Islam teaches. That's what Muhammad did. That's how Muhammad behaved. Do you know, Jesse, when Muhammad died in 632 AD, there's not one Arabian on the peninsula that disagreed with the man. And you don't get to that point by persuasion and having open discussion and dialogue. You get to that point by the edge of the sword, and that's exactly what Islam teaches.
Amazing.
Right.
Let me ask this. So, like, when the UN decided that they're going to give some of this land over there in Palestine to the Jews, did the Palestinians agree with the UN at the time? Yeah, we want to share some of this land with the Jews?
No, they did not. There were already Jews there. People were sharing the land, so to speak, but they were not happy with that. And so we had wars immediately taking place. It's been a war ever since. It's been a tinderbox in the Mideast ever since. But that's because we have the United Nations doing that very thing. Jimmy Carter himself is a Zionist, and he supported all of that also. But at the same time, here's something important to note. There's so many Christians in America. And they said, well, Jimmy Carter's a Baptist, and he's a Baptist fundamentalist, and so we're going to side with him, regardless of the fact that he belonged to the Council on Foreign Relations, which believes in a socialistic world government. He belonged to the Trilateral Commission, which is exactly the same type of organization, as well as many other clandestines. And under his leadership, we gave away Iran to the mullahs. They were our friends. We had the Shah of Iran, who had come to America, sending many students over here and wanted to open up trade. And we had liaisons going to Iran. They were our friends. The Shah of Iran was our friend. What happened? Jimmy Carter and his administration cut their throat, and we gave it to the mullahs. And so what happened? It became a hardline exporting terrorism. And right now, it's one of the chief exporters of terrorism in the United States. That was Jimmy Carter. But because of the blindness of those who wear the name of Christ, they supported Jimmy Carter. And it was a sad day.
Amazing.
And I'll say this, even Ronald Reagan believed in the state of Israel. I supported Ronald Reagan, but he had conservative values. He was not about to give away all of these territories, but he also was. So also Lyndon Johnson. But see, we just don't pay attention to other things. Okay, he's a Zionist, and we're going to support him.
So should Israel give the land back to the Palestinians? Should they give
You know
it
what?
up?
I don't believe. At this point, I do not say that. At this point, I think that we need to have a peaceable solution. The United Nations created the problem, and here's the pickle the United Nations is in. The United Nations created the state of Israel, but now you have the Secretary General of the United Nations standing up just 3 or 4 days ago. Remember Guterres standing up and saying, well, the Palestinians have had a complaint, and he kind of justified what the attack in the Gaza Strip because they've lost their land for so many years. Okay, so now you see the problem we've got, and the problem that the United Nations is facing. They're hypocritical because they're the ones who created the state of Israel. They're the ones who did it.
Yeah.
But now the United Nations has been imbued with Islamic people, and so now he sided. Now he says, no, I don't mean that I justify the attack, but it sounded like he did.
So
this is a sticky problem.
Do men like Netanyahu and other leaders over there, military leaders, presidents, whatever they are, do they know that the land actually belongs to the Palestinians and they need to work out something?
I don't believe they think that it belongs to the Palestinians at all.
Oh.
I believe they say that it was given to the Jews by God in the book of Genesis. And they'll mention that. John Hake talks about that in all of his books. So also do other Baptist preachers. So also does David Jeremiah. All of those guys that are on television, they say God gave the land to the Jews in the book of Genesis. They do not regard, they do not pay attention to, they thumb their nose at the fact that God gave it to them on condition that they would be faithful to God and would remove the land, and they would lose the land if they were not faithful. They were unfaithful, they lost the land.
That's amazing. Bill, we gone way over time, about to run out of time, and so much I want to ask you about these things.
Well, that's great. I'm happy to do it.
Let me ask this. I don't understand this thing with God and the Jews. Oh, but I got to ask you something. The black people who are calling themselves black Israelites, are they just playing or they don't know what they're talking about?
They don't know what they're talking about.
Right. I figured that.
Yeah. They just, it's like the celebration of Kwanzaa. They made it up. There's no historical anything with Kwanzaa, but they wanted something for the blacks, and so they made up something like somehow that has some kind of religious significance. It's just foolishness on the face of the deep.
Wow, I figured that.
Yeah.
So what is the solution to what's happening with Israel and the Palestinians right now? What's the solution?
Well, the ultimate solution is conversion to Jesus Christ. Unfortunately, the Jews are not going to be converted to Christ because there's so many so-called Christians in the Baptist pulpits, in the Methodist pulpits who tell us that God's promises are fulfilled when the Jews have their land, and they're not interested in converting Jews. Jerry Falwell and those kind of guys were not interested necessarily in the conversion of the Jews. They were interested in supporting the state of Israel. So the conversion of Jews and Muslims to Jesus Christ is the one single solution that is going to bring peace. But other than that, there's not going to be peace.
So the Jews...
Number two, we need to get out of the United Nations. The United Nations has meddled where it should not have meddled, and we have created so many problems with the UN, and that's exactly what we're doing now. So right now what's happening, I don't want anything to continue, but I understand the state as it is with Benjamin Netanyahu, and I can understand how he says, we're not going to have a ceasefire. They attacked us with brutality and wickedness and gruesome manners of murder. I understand how he says what he does, and I support what he's doing on that front. But, it's just not going to be an easy solution because wherever we have meddled, we have created problems. We meddled in Korea. They still are enemies. We are still at war, technically, with Korea. Douglas MacArthur said, go in there, and we need to stop this, go all the way. But Truman said, no, we don't want to go beyond the Yalu River, and so we're not going to go there. And so we're going to let North Korea stay as North Korea. MacArthur said, you don't understand communism then. You're going to defeat communism if you're going to go to war with them. You got to defeat them. So we created North Korea. We created Iran. We created problems over there via the United Nations. We create what's going on in Ukraine with the meddling of Obama administration in Ukraine also. That has been going on for a long time. But so now we've created all this, state sponsors of terror. Now what?
Amazing.
Now what?
So, Bill, you said the solution is the Christians and the Palestinians need to accept Jesus, right? Believe in Jesus.
The Jews and the Palestinians all need to accept Jesus Christ.
But that ain't going to be happening anytime soon.
That's right.
And so they're going to continue to fight?
That's correct.
Amazing. I'm going out today and buy me a little Jew hat. I didn't know I was a Jew. What the?
Yeah, well.
Oh, I already got one.
And I'll tell you something else interesting, Jesse. How many times have you heard that Christians should stay out of politics? How many times have you heard that?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
But yet, in the Baptist pulpits, in the Pentecostal pulpits, in the Methodist pulpits, the Presbyterian pulpits, the Catholic pulpits, they continue to support the state of Israel. That's a political state. So they're involved in politics from the get-go. And yet they turn around and when you talk about let's get out of socialism because that's an anti-God theory. They say, well, you're talking politics. Well, we need to stay away from politics. Well, that's what they're all into. They're all into politics.
Bill, give me a short answer because we have 1 minute.
Okay.
Who should we be supporting, Israel or Palestine or no one?
Well, I do believe that we have been friends with Israel for a long time. We should support them. But I have reservations about what all that would entail. I do believe they have the right to defend themselves, and I think that we ought to support that.
And should we be giving them money?
I don't believe that we should send $1 of money and foreign aid to any country at all. That's not in the Constitution. Where in the Constitution do we have the right to send $1 of foreign aid to any country?
Especially when we want to take care of our own country.
Well,
we need the money.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I don't think we ought to do that.
Bill, tell the folks, I'm going to try to set up some of these debates for you. Tell the folks how to get you once again.
All right, yes, Patriotic Pulpit. That's on Spotify app, Amazon Music app. Bible Studies with Bill Lockwood. That's on, you can find that on the internet, as well as Iowa Park Church of Christ, or iowaparkcoc.org. Thank you, Jesse.
Amazing. This blew my mind today. What's up?
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate you.
All right. You too, buddy.
Bye-bye.
All right. You too, Bill. Callers, I'm sorry. Darren out of Oregon. Rick out of Virginia. Carla out of Georgia. Brittany, first time I call out of time. I'm out of time. Tomorrow, I will take you guys' call. Call me back tomorrow. It was so interesting to me. It was just so interesting. I ain't never heard all that. What the Hake Report is coming up now. And after the Hake Report, Joel Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And then 4 p.m., the American Anchor Baby at 4 p.m. Pacific time today. He's doing a special on Halloween. Can they see your Halloween outfit? This is Hassan Halloween costume.
Cowboy Jesus.
He gonna put Jesus on Halloween Day.
You gotta rebuke the spirits.
Evidently. I'll be back tomorrow, Manhood Hour, third hour tomorrow. Get on that straight and narrow and stay there. We'll do your super chats the first thing in the morning. I appreciate them. We're so out of time. What a mess, huh? It's amazing what we don't know. All right, folks. Have a good day.
Joel Friday here. Look, stand up. Stand up, we got fighting to do. We gotta show him who boss. He put a Viking in you. He put that lightning in you. Igniting the truth. But you beg and blame and lie and hate and never wanna stand for the truth. So what you planning to do? You understanding to lose. You better go talk to your mama. Better stop all the drama. Better drop all the trauma. Boy, you better stand up, man up. Put your hand up and hut. Cause if we don't, then we lose. And then we gotta hear the fake news. Whoa.
Know that so you get something went wrong.
So, here's what I recommend. I invite you to download my silent prayer, and I want you to start doing it. You just download it, get the points of how to do it, and then after a while, you just do it on your own. It's going to point you in the right direction that your life will be returned to you from God. He will give you your life back because anyone and all people who has anger, they're not themselves. You are the person that you are angry at. That's why it's so important to get to know yourself so that you can see who you're angry at. And if you're doing the hooping and hollering prayers and things like that, some people get up, oh, praise the Lord, hoop and holler, bless my mama, bless my daddy. Continue to do it. Do both. You will see if you want to stay with the hooping and hollering or do you want to be still and know God. So my gift to you, no charge, at rebuildingtheman.com/church. I noticed after a while that when these guys overcome their anger, they have amazing ideas about starting a business, but because they've been told that if you don't get a loan from the bank, or if you don't have a 5-year plan, or if you don't do this, and it's just simply not true, it's the first step. With faith, then all things are possible. So, but the most important thing is to return to the Father. That yearning that you have, that emptiness, that void, is not for more stuff. It's not for more friends. It is a return to the Father, because there's no way you can return to God and be angry at your earthly father. So thank you all so much, right? People around the world donated to Bond at rebuildingtheman.com, or they call 800-411-2663, and we're still committed to pointing the right way for men and women to return to the Father.
Thank you, JLP. An excellent country and Western Tuesday.